This battle stood out to me not only because it's a very good battle, very close, down to the absolute wire, but also because the players fought it using like medium unit size, which is most unusual. You can see there's only 8 Minotaurs here, but let's get to the builds real quick before they clash. Taurox, the Brass Bull, going to be leading 2 units Minotaurs with great weapons against Norsca, Separation and Lord of Wild as well. We've got 4 Ungor Raiders. Some Ungor Spearmen up front, looks like 4 of them as well. A couple of Gore Herds and 4 Centaurs, 2 on each flank. For Norsca, coming in big with a double Mammoth, Wolfric on 1, and a Feral Mammoth. 2 units of Skin Wolves, some Marauder Spears, looks like 2 of them. 2 Javelins, Berserker, Icehorn Marauders, 3 regular Marauders, and 1 Marauder Great Weapon. Lord Metalcaster here with just Final Transmutation. Yeah, interesting to see. Not that you would need Plague of Rust against Beastmen. They typically don't have a lot of armored targets. I would probably take it, though, if you do have the leftover gold. I don't know in this particular build. I kind of have to look at things and see. But tearing armor from a specific high-value target can be pretty important here, like, for example, Taurox, of course. His armor will help resist some of this damage from these javelins, but yeah, very interesting stuff. I don't really know how this medium unit size is going to affect the balance. In an ideal world, things would scale linearly, and certainly in Warhammer 3 it scales better because single entity's weapon and missile strength now scales as well, whereas I think in previous games it did not. That said, units should still more or less fulfill their intended role. Degrees of cost effectiveness may vary somewhat, unit size to unit size. But let's see how it plays out here. I would expect most of these units should still more or less do what we expect them to. But Beastmen are going to pull up, start to pick away with these Ungor Raiders. Pretty smart here. They do have a small ranged advantage, but they do definitely have one. So trying to draw the Norscans in definitely seems like a good idea. Low charge on these Ungor Spearman herds as well. So you might as well just, you know, stand and take the charge with them. Maybe countercharge at the last second there. Just generally, the Beastmen are trying to pull the Norscans in, it seems. Are they able to do so? Marauder's going to get in the front line here, and Taurox definitely could come and try and bull rush into the center position, but the Javelins are dangerous. Both him and, more especially, the Minotaurs with Grey Weapons. Nice little, Vile Tide there in the center. Might have been a Bray Scream, actually. I don't 100% see exactly the template, but Centaur's flanking up and around, going to try and find a home there. Looks like nice side charge angle on those Marauders. Meanwhile, some of the Ungor Spearman herd get terrified away as the Feral Mammoth starts to countercharge in. Right now, Taurox and the Minotaurs just kind of hanging back for the time being, not wanting to contest too heavily. Definitely could go after Wolfric and the Mammoths here, but again, the Javelins are a risk. The Javelins still have come forward, though, starting to pick at these Minotaurs a little bit, deal some slight HP damage there. But once Wolfric extends pretty far in this direction, I mean, the Javelins, if he's paying attention, still can focus here, but considering he's a lot more vulnerable, well away from the Skin Wolves over on this side, who are busy fending off the Centaurs, he's going to be somewhat more vulnerable to this. You can see the Minotaurs rush in, Hunter of Champions on Taurox himself, but Minotaurs are also just going to be able to bull rush through and get directly onto the Javelins, which will remove one of the threats. They're able to occupy and do quite a bit of damage, but they are very few in number. Only 8 Minotaurs, relatively squishy as well. But we'll see how they're able to hold out. But they did a lot of damage to Wolfric as he was trying to run away there. Definitely an alarming amount of damage, and he actually gets routed off very quickly. So, yeah, even though, I mean, single entities, it's the same more or less with 8 Minotaurs versus, what is it, 12 in the standard game? Probably could have the same number in quote-unquote base contact at a time, so Wolfric ends up getting pretty well wrecked there by them. Nice final transmutation as well. It comes in, does some pretty good damage to the Minotaurs. Skin Wolves also rush in. Javelins are going to be throwing their missiles and trying their best to try and stabilize this fight. Balance power swings pretty far in Beastman's favor, but Wolfric, I don't know, might not be able to come back with those Centaurs tailing him there. Meanwhile, over here, Taurox going to get wrapped up with this other Mammoth. Ungor Raiders getting charged in the back line. Murdered into a bloody pulp here on the Fields of Corn. Absolutely lore-friendly. And Taurox also defending not technically his home turf because of arbitrary silly Games Workshop lore, whatever reason. I guess he's not technically a corn dude. I don't know. It seems like he should be at home here. Certainly is having a great time over there with that mammoth. The same cannot be said of these Minotaurs, though, who sort of get outnumbered in the center. The Berserkers come through. Berserkers with 57 weapon strength and 50 attack. Even though they're not an anti-large unit, they're still going to hit the Minotaurs very hard and be able to tear them apart relatively quickly. I mean, it looks like the unit actually manages to rout the Minotaurs there. So great job by those Berserkers, helping to stabilize, help to defend these Javelins, get them back operational. Fortunately for the Mammoth, the operational Ungor Raiders managed to take it down, and Beastmen have quite a few of these Ungor Raiders alive, so they're going to almost have to kite it out a little bit at this point. The Norscan's melee infantry here is still relatively strong. Beastmen's getting some Centaurs, some Minotaurs back from rout as well, but in this type of a situation, with every HP point counting for that much more, these Skin Wolves are going to prevail in the long term if they don't get limited. You know, if they're able to just sit here and heal. They've still got 10 out of 12 unit models online, so quite a bit of capacity for healing, tons of healing cap space left. They can definitely swing this balance of power pretty hard, and, you know, if they get enough HP, get the right support situation, they might be able to take down Taurox. Let's see if they deploy. Honestly, a little bit early at this point. I probably would have kept them back to heal a little bit longer before trying to use them at this point, but they're going to rush in here. Another problem is that the Javelins throwing in are not particularly accurate. They are likely to do significant friendly fire damage to the Skin Wolves. Not to mention, of course, Taurox pops Brass Body, resists quite a bit of that damage, and he also gets a damage increase from the Skin Wolves' regeneration trait. He will get extra damage against them, but not that it ends up mattering too much. I think mostly the friendly fire Javelins end up killing them off pretty badly, and they rout. Meanwhile, the Beastmen trying to collapse on the overextension of the Marauder Spearmen, Icehorn Marauders as well. Last, the Marauder Infantry going to get in. There's one more final transmutation. It could prove fairly devastating. I don't think magic damage scales at all, so the casters, I would guess, on both sides probably got quite a bit of damage value. Only 856, interesting. I mean, he is very cheap on foot with just that spell, so probably cost-effective at the end of the day. But looks like another final transmutation going to be thrown over there on Taurox, and no, Traderkin, actually, in fact, from the Beastmen. It's going to damage and slow the Marauder Hunters there. Another Hunter of Champions from the Hunter of Champion himself, who manages to come back from rout. Totally forgot he was still on the field. Definitely expected him to get chased off by those Centaurs, but with him back, that is a pretty big power spike as well. The debuff is significant on Taurox, and then, of course, Taurox gets isolated. The Skin Wolves turn around. The Hunters get in there. Last of his support Minotaurs get felled, and that's a big problem for Taurox. He's just taking a bunch of HP damage. Fight or Die also popped here to buff up the melee attack. And non-armor piercing weapon strength, of course, from Sword of Torgal. Not wildly useful on the Mammoth, but does help a little bit there. Ungor Raiders, though, resisting the lure of boats to a degree. One of them gets KO'd by it, but they still manage to get a nice concave of fire, dumping in their arrows in a desperate last stand to fend off the Mammoth. Ungor Raiders, probably one of the best low-tier archers in the game, if not the best individual due to a bunch of different factors, but here they're going to prove decisive once more as they continue to pepper Wulfric with arrows. The last of it comes down to 73 HP versus 79 HP. Oh man, Taurox actually gets killed there, but the Ungor Raiders manage to finish Wulfric as well. Big final transmutation. I say big, only hits 2 Ungor Raider units, while the third manages to stand firm, continue shooting. The attacked by missile debuff combined with the Lord recently fled debuff leads to a chain rout, and the Beastmen take home a very narrow small funds or small unit size victory. Very interesting stuff. Considering how hard Wulfric got wrecked, I was impressed that the Norscan player was able to kind of stabilize and almost bring things back here. The Skin Wolves definitely a solid choice. Probably would want more of them in this matchup. Hard to say. I don't know that the second Mammoth... I mean, ultimately, Wulfric paying the price, you don't necessarily expect that to happen because he has so much more HP on Ultra Funds, but still, it's definitely food for thought. I definitely like the pick of the Skin Wolves as long as you can avoid Taurox, and That's kind of the key here, right? One reason why I might take, you know, as much as I like the Metal Sorcerer, maybe it's better to go Shadows, throw a little Enfeebling Foe, just to really nerf Torok's stats so that you can fight him in melee. Now, that combined with Hunter of Champions is such a significant debuff, you'd get wrecked by most units. You don't even necessarily have to fight him with Wulfric itself, right? So, something to think about there. I mean, there's an argument to be made just dealing damage with Final Transmutation is more efficient, but we saw here, I'm not really sure that was the case necessarily. 1,000 damage value there, 1491 on the Traderkin caster. Interesting stuff. Minotaurs perform reasonably decent. I mean, just getting rid of Wulfric in and of itself is pretty cost-effective for them. So, pretty good stuff overall, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Not every day you see a game in this unit size, so I thought it was interesting enough to cast. It was a pretty fun, close battle, too. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. See you next time.